Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Agoda Premanandi. Hare Krishna. Good evening, everyone. Hare Krishna. So we'll be carrying on this evening with our study from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, chapter 25. I think it's text 21. Not sure.
25.
Chapter 25, text 21. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janabhava Girivardhari Gopi Janabhava Girivardhari Gopi Janabhava Girivardhari Gopi Janabhava Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Rajajanaran Yasodhanandana Rajajanaran Yasodhanandana Rajajanaran Yasodhanandana Rajajanaranjana Yasodhanandana Rajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Vishnu Pada Paramahansa Parivrajacharya, Ashtota Satasha A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki, Ananta Kota Vaishnavrinda ki, Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki, Prem Se Goho Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath, Shyamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Shri Mayapur Dham ki, Jagannath Puri Dham ki, Ganga Maya ki, Yamuna Maya ki, Tulasi Deva ki, Bhakti Deva ki, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki, Lord Chaitanya's Harinam Sankirtanam ki, Brihat Madanga ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Kinamani Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nevasesha Shunyavadi Pastor Charde Shatarine Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Take a seat. Oh, Hare Krishna. I didn't bring the book.
Which book?
The third canto. Anyway, it's on the screen. Yeah, here we have the third canto. I believe it's text 21. Is that right? Text 21? Or 22? I'm not sure. 21. Okay. Thank you. Titikshava Kurunika. Titikshava Kurunika. Suridak Sarvadehinam.
Suridak Sarvadehinam.
Ajata Shatravakshanta.
Ajata Sarvakshanta.
Sadavak Sadhubhushanaha.
Sada Sadhubhushanaha.
Titikshava Kurunika.
Tikshava Karunika.
Surida Sarvadehinam. Ajata Shatravakshanta.
Ajata Satravakshanta.
Sadavak Sadhubhushanaha. Word for word synonyms. Titikshavaha.
Titikshavaha.
Tolerant.
Tolerant.
Karunikaha.
Karunikaha.
Merciful.
Merciful.
Suridaha.
Suridaha.
Friendly.
Friendly.
Sarvadehinam.
Sarvadehinam.
To all living entities.
To all living entities.
Ajata Shatravaha.
Ajata Shatravaha.
Inimical to none. Inimical to none. Shantaha. Peaceful. Sadavaha.
Sadavaha.
Abiding by scriptures.
Abiding by scriptures.
Sadhubhushanaha.
Sadhubhushanaha.
Adorned with sublime characteristics.
Adorned with sublime characteristics.
Translation and purport. By His divine grace, Shri A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. The symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemy. He is peaceful. He abides by the scripture, and all of his characteristics are sublime. Purport. A sadhu as described above, is a devotee of the Lord. His concern is, therefore, to enlighten people in devotional service to the Lord. That is his mercy. He knows that without devotional service to the Lord, human life is spoiled. A devotee travels all over the country, from door to door, preaching. Be Krishna conscious. Be a devotee of Lord Krishna. Don't spoil your life in simply fulfilling your animal propensities. Human life is meant for self-realization or Krishna consciousness. These are the preachings of a sadhu. He is not satisfied with his own liberation. He always thinks about others. He is the most compassionate personality towards all the fallen souls. Therefore, one of his qualifications is karunika, great mercy to the fallen souls. While engaged in preaching work, he has to meet with so many opposing elements, and therefore the sadhu, or devotee of the Lord, has to be very tolerant. Someone may ill-treat him because the conditioned souls are not prepared to receive the transcendental knowledge of devotional service. They do not like it. That is their disease. The sadhu has the thankless task of impressing upon them the importance of devotional service. Sometimes devotees are personally attacked with violence. Lord Jesus Christ was crucified. Haridas Thakur was caned in 22 marketplaces. And Lord Chaitanya's principal assistant, Nityananda, was violently attacked by Jagai and Madai. But still they were tolerant because their mission was to deliver the fallen souls. One of the qualifications of a sadhu is that he is very tolerant and he is merciful because he is the well-wisher of all living entities. He is not only a well-wisher of human society, but a well-wisher of animal society as well. It is said here, Sarvadehinam, which indicates all living entities who have accepted material bodies. Not only does a human being have a material body, but other living entities such as cats and dogs also have material bodies. The devotee of the Lord is merciful to everyone, the cats, the dogs, the trees, etc. He treats all living entities in such a way that they can ultimately get salvation from this material entanglement. Shivananda saying, one of the disciples of Lord Chaitanya, gave liberation to a dog by treating the dog transcendentally. There are many instances where a dog got salvation by association with a sadhu, because a sadhu engages in the highest philanthropic activities for the benediction of all living entities. Yet although a sadhu is not inimical towards anyone, the world is so ungrateful that even a sadhu has many enemies. What is the difference between an enemy and a friend? It is a difference in behavior. A sadhu behaves with all conditioned souls for their ultimate relief from material entanglement. Therefore, no one can be more friendly than a sadhu in relieving a conditioned soul. A sadhu is calm, and he quietly and peacefully follows the principles of scripture. A sadhu means one who follows the principles of scripture. Where am I?
And at the same time,
and at the same time is a devotee of the Lord. One who actually follows the principles of scripture must be a devotee of the Lord, of Krishna, because all the Shastras instruct us to obey the orders of the personality of Godhead. Therefore, sadhu means a follower of scriptural injunctions and a devotee of the Lord. All these characteristics are prominent in a devotee. A devotee develops all the good qualities of the demigods, whereas a non-devotee, even though academically qualified, has no actual good qualifications or good characteristics according to the standard of transcendental realization. Om Jnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Tapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padaka Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Advaitam Savadutam Parijana Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvika He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Pranamami Hare Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada in the purport, especially highlighting the characteristic of a sadhu is Karunika, Tikshara Karunika, most merciful. What is that mercy of the sadhu? Last week we heard about the qualities of a sadhu, which was the second part of this purport. But this evening we'll talk a little bit about the characteristic of a sadhu in terms of their interaction with the world. What is their mercy, which is, as Prabhupada mentions in the purport, is oftentimes not understood. In fact, many times people object to the kindness, the mercy of a sadhu, who is simply trying to help the living entities to become free of the material world of samsara. Prabhupada gives the example of Shivananda saying that sadhu is not just one who is interested in his own kind, or those who surrendered to him, so to speak. But a sadhu is one who is concerned for everyone. Prabhupada mentions even one's enemy. We can see the same principle is there in the case of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, in some of his statements to his disciples, where he's making this point very strongly. Let me not desire anything but the highest good for my worst enemies, he says. To transform the adverse desires of the jivas is the supreme duty of the most merciful. Not easy to transform. In other places, he says it may take many, many lifetimes. People are so much attached in this material world. To rescue one person from the stronghold of Mahamaya is an act of superb benevolence, far superior to opening innumerable hospitals. I wish, he says, that every selfless, tender-hearted person of the Gaudiya Math will be prepared to shed 200 gallons of blood for the nourishment of the spiritual corpus of every individual of this world. But it means that they're willing to give up their very life for others. And Prabhupada mentions Jesus Christ in the purport. He mentions Shivananda saying, in terms of, we were reading yesterday how Srila Prabhupada was saying, we also love the animals. The Vaishnava love all living entities. What is that love? That love is because they are Krishnas, they belong to Krishna. Every living entity is Krishna's part and parcel, and therefore is lovable. Because Krishna is the supreme lovable. The devotee they're willing to give up his life for that purpose. We see in the case of Vasudeva Datta, and Srila Prabhupada describes how Vasudeva Datta is even so much more, he's displaying so much more mercy than even Jesus. Jesus is known as the personification of mercy. But Vasudeva Datta is willing to stay for all living entities, not just those who, say, take shelter or surrender, but he wishes to suffer the fate for all living entities in the universe. Let them be delivered. This is the mood of a devotee. Because he cannot bear to see that Krishna's pleasure is not being, let's say, is being in any way curtailed. It's like we were hearing a beautiful talk yesterday. I think it was by Madhavananda Prabhu. Not a Madhavananda on the Gold Coast, this is Madhavananda Prabhu in Bhubaneswar, describing how devotee just wants to go to Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra, go to the battlefield. What is this? Devotees should desire to go to Vrindavan. Devotees should desire to go to Mayapur, Jagannath Puri. No, but it's in Kurukshetra that one can render the service to relieve Radharani of her suffering. But when she's in Kurukshetra, she's feeling so much suffering. She's simply pining for Krishna to return to Vrindavan. This material world, in one sense, can be compared like that. The battlefield. Living entities are struggling in this material world, trying to enjoy their senses, trying to fulfill their perverted desires. The merciful devotee doesn't stay and try to perform nirjana bhajan in Vrindavan or Puri, just looking after his own, you could say, spiritual path. It's very good, or other paths. But he's in this world, as we know, there are two kinds of devotee, the Goswami and the Bhajananandi. The merciful devotee, they're all merciful. But in this particular case, the mercy of the Goswami, who takes on under the direction of the Paramahamsa devotee, the position of a Parivrajacharya, and goes everywhere he can to try to relieve and retrieve and renovate the consciousness of the living entities, to reunite them with Krishna, to bring them back through whatever means are possible to preach Krishna consciousness and remind others of Krishna. This is his business, his only life and soul. Paradukha Dukhi. He has no purpose of his own. He has no suffering on his own account. His suffering is due to the sufferings of other living entities. He cannot tolerate that. Ultimately, he cannot tolerate that Krishna, pleasure, it should be increased by reconnecting the living entities. And the fact that living entities are separated from Krishna naturally brings one aspect, naturally brings suffering to the Lord's dearmost devotees. Srimati Radharani and all the pure devotees suffer so much to see the condition of this world. Just like in Srila Prabhupada, we haven't got time tonight, but if you ever get the opportunity to come across this book called A Shower of Divine Compassion, it's a compilation of Srila Prabhupada's poems, which he wrote. This poem, where Prabhupada is praying to his spiritual master, how despondent, how he's feeling, so much anxiety, so much pain to see that the mission of Krishna consciousness has become, this is going back into the 50s, the mission of his spiritual master has become, let's say, almost curtailed in terms of preaching. He was feeling so much pain. And thus he took on this mission pretty much single-handedly with his mercy of his spiritual master to spread Krishna consciousness. With faith in his spiritual master, he came to the Western world to preach. This is the mood of the devotee. This is their mood. They're willing, like this is the mood of Nityananda. We were hearing last week, Lord Nityananda is the gateway to Krishna Prema. He's the gateway to Madhurya Ras. He's the beginning and end of all mercy, practically speaking. There's no higher mercy than him. He's the most merciful personality, but to get his mercy, one has to give that mercy to the Jagais and Madhais of this world to preach. This is Karunika. Living entities in this world who are so much blinded by the ignorance of material sense gratification. The devotee goes out, takes that risk to preach. It may be on the internet now. It may be by so many different methods. But to share this chanting of the holy names. So I'm just going to read one or two of Prabhupada's poetic couplets, whatever they're called here. This is from the poem called Viraha Ashtaka. On the strength of Lord Chaitanya's command, you sent out all your servants as spiritual masters from door to door, just to deliver the fallen souls. The devotees were preaching everywhere, from the oceans to the Himalayas. But now that you have gone from our midst, there is only darkness everywhere. One who has taken his birth as a human being in the land of India should make his life successful and work for the benefit of other people. Everywhere you went, you boldly preached this great message of Lord Chaitanya. But now in your absence, O Master, everything has fallen into darkness. When we forget the mission of Srila Prabhupada, we forget the mission of Lord Nityananda. We sometimes get so much wrapped up in our own. Yes, we have, due to our past, we may have so many complexities, so many challenges. Srila Prabhupada said the best way to deal with a wandering mind is to try to think how it can be a part of spreading this Krishna consciousness movement. Without Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message being spread, there's confusion and upheaval everywhere. Seeing this, all Vaishnavas feel overwhelmed in the pangs of your separation. You instructed everyone you met to chant Lord Krishna's holy name. You showed the example by continually reciting the Maha Mantra into everyone's ears. You empowered everyone with a further qualification to distribute that holy name. But now, by the influence of Maya, there is only darkness everywhere. I think you can put this, oh, you shut the screen. The souls truly attached to worshipping the Lord always sing and dance in joyful Sankirtan, following in the footsteps of their spiritual master. They deliver the whole world. But those with no such qualification perform nirjana bhajan, so-called confidential worship in a solitary place. Thus acting whimsically, all of them actually remain absorbed in personal sense gratification. In this age which we're in, this age of Kali, this process of nirjana bhajan, which of course is the process of the bhajanandis, is not being recommended, at least here, by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. It's recommended that we take shelter of Lord Nityananda and we try to share this Krishna consciousness with others. I'm going to read a little something now from Srila Prabhupada. Preaching, Prabhupada says, preaching work, Titikshava Krunik. Another example of sadhu is sadhu, one who has gone to Himalaya and trying to meditate. This is for his personal self. But another sadhu who is preaching to the suffering people about Krishna consciousness, he is greatest sadhu. Na tasman manushishri kastin me priyapritamaha. Krishna says, there is nobody else so dear to me as those persons who are engaged in preaching the gospel of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says himself, there is no one more dear to me, nor will there ever be one more dear. To one at risk, yes, it's a challenge, it's a sacrifice. It needs tolerance. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, we were reading this morning, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said that in the Mass, the most important thing is we must practice tolerance. We have to tolerate without being disturbed. Not easy. But by the mercy of Lord Nityananda, everything becomes easy. By the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, which is the mercy of Lord Nityananda, everything becomes easy. Even difficult things become easy. We have this good fortune to be able to take this seed which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brought, planting in our hearts. As we've just heard, everyone should make this their mission in life, to spread Krishna consciousness to others. Yada de kitara kara Krishna Pradesh, Mara Gyaya Guru Tara Idesh. Whatever we've imbibed, we've learned, we've heard from the right source, from the Bhagavad Gita, or Srimad Bhagavatam, every Vaishnava, every devotee should become a guru and try to share that with others. It's not that we have to be a big orator, we don't have to be a big devotee, so to speak, but just whatever we have, try to share it with other living entities. This is the mission of Lord Nityananda, the mission of Srila Prabhupada. This is how this mission is spread all over the world, by devotees going and preaching Krishna consciousness in every village. Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, they wanted to have a temple in every single village of the world. Not just in the major cities, every town and village. Prativati achi adi nagavadi gram, savatra prachora hoibi morna. The holy name should be heard and chanted in every town and village of the world. This is our mission. What to say? We can hear more from Srila Prabhupada. There is, so Sadhu, Prabhupada says, Sadhu, we have to create our association with sadhus. This is the spirit of a sadhu. He wants to give Krishna to others. It's like Nityananda, he spread Krishna consciousness to the dacoits in Bengal, the most fallen. Doesn't matter, no one was, the only qualification, said, the only qualification in this age is mercy of Lord Nityananda. We have no other qualification. We have no, And even Lord Srila Prabhupada, when he arrived in Boston, he said, I have no knowledge, I have no devotion. I have simply strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. Taking shelter of the holy name of Krishna. Everything will become loudly chanting. In another place, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj describes how by loudly chanting the holy names of the Lord, one will drive away all inertia, all inauspiciousness, all pests, everything that's negative is driven away by the loud Sankirtan of the holy name of Krishna. The Sankirtan should be going to every town and village of the world. Whenever we get the chance, join the Sankirtan party. Have Sankirtan in the home. Sankirtan everywhere we can. This will bring auspiciousness to the world. This is in the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, describing the behavior of King Prachani Barisha. Srila Prabhupada describes how this king was performing sacrifices one after the next, karmakanda sacrifices, for the benefit of the people. He got too much absorbed in it. It became almost like his goal in life to perform more and more karmakanda sacrifices. They were properly performed. And no doubt beneficial from the material point of view, and ultimately for the elevation of the living entities. Prabhupada takes it up in the purport. He says, as King Prachani Barishat was performing sacrifices, as soon as one would finish, he would start another one in another place. He said we should do the same thing. We should perform sacrifices one after the next. As soon as one's finished one place, we start another place. It's like a fire, igniting a fire, a forest fire, so to speak. One tree ignites the next one. Like the Lord Chaitanya did the same thing when he was traveling in South India. Everywhere he went, millions of people would come. And Lord Chaitanya would initiate them all in the holy name. And they would all dance in ecstasy, blissful, experiencing pure bhakti, pure Shuddhanam. And then they would go to their own villages and ignite everybody there. Everyone has the potential to awaken their Krishna consciousness, but it's covered over. It's only revealed, it's only unmanifested in the presence of somebody who is on fire in Krishna consciousness, pure devotees of the Lord. They can ignite that fire in the hearts of all of us. Potential is there. Yesterday we were lighting fires in New Mayapur, putting wood in the fire. The wood will not burn on its own. Even today, 24 hours later, we just raked the fire a little bit and put some wood on and it burned. It was still hot. Only in the association of fire can that love, that Shuddhanam, awaken in our hearts, in the association of someone who has it. We were discussing this afternoon the spirit of Krishna consciousness movement and how still the same, the principle is still exactly the same, but I was just recollecting when I first came into the temple and how there was only one real program in the temple in those days, and that was Sankirtan, deity worship and Sankirtan, that was it. The deity worship was quite simple in those days, of course, and it was Sankirtan. All morning, Sankirtan in the temple, chanting and hearing. And clean the temple, more Sankirtan as we cleaned. And then 9:30 on the street, 7 hours, 6, 7, 8 hours on the street, dancing and chanting, distributing books. Back to the temple, more Sankirtan throughout the whole evening. The whole movement was Sankirtan. It was contagious. That's this movement. This is the Sankirtan movement. The Sankirtan movement. The movement for glorifying the Lord through congregational chanting. This is our primary activity. Everything is meant, according to Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. Sadhana means that which helps us to become absorbed, to develop an attraction towards Sankirtan. And if our activities do not help us to awaken a taste for chanting the holy name, then they're to be seen as impediments on the path of bhakti. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not talk. We don't see him. He shows all respect to the Lord in the form of the deity wherever he went. But he doesn't talk about opening temples. He talks about Sankirtan, congregational chanting of the holy name, which Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj described as the only infallible means of success. The only infallible, that means there's absolute surety, without any doubt, that if one absorbs oneself in the mood of Sankirtan, which means congregational, spreading the holy name, there will be success without doubt. Even when we're doing our other activities, we may have many activities to do in the course of our duty in life, maintaining our families, and so on and so forth. But as much as possible, the acharyas recommend we should chant at the same time, whenever the possibility is there. We have to have common sense. But as much as possible, keep chanting, chanting, chanting the holy name of Krishna. This is the business of a sadhu. He's mad. Satatam kirtiyanto mam yatantascha vidavataha. Krishna explains, this is the sadhu, this is the Mahatma. One who is always chanting my glories. Constantly preaching, chanting, thinking how to spread this movement, how to serve in various ways. He's always engaged 24 hours a day in devotional service, particularly in chanting and hearing. This is the primary activities. And we can do other things, and we can also hear and chant at the same time. It's not that we have to stop one to do another. They can both go on. When we're serving prasadam, even when we're honoring prasadam, there should be Shravanam Kirtanam, if possible, of some form or another. Prabhupada, of course, would sometimes sit silently and take prasadam, but of course, in his heart of hearts, he was in the mood of Sankirtan constantly, constantly. I'm going to read something now from a little book. There's an interesting book called Preaching is the Essence. This is a recent publication. I'm not saying a recent one. This is a new Indian print. There was an original one which was black colored. These are some quotes of Srila Prabhupada on preaching. One of my favorite sections in Chaitanya Charitamrita is chapter 9 of the Adi Leela. I remember one time we were hitchhiking. Hitchhiking means you stick your thumb out and hope someone picks you up on the road. And I was traveling from one temple to another, and no one was stopping for a long time. And then someone stopped and dropped me, and someone else all day long. I must have about 8 or 9 different lifts. Some of them were only like 2, 3, 4 kilometers. But somehow or another, I got to not far away from where my destiny was. I was trying to get to Chaitanya College, which was a big temple in England. And everyone I met, because dressed with a dhoti on and shaved heads, one knew that everyone who picked you up knew that they were in for something unusual. When you dress like this, anyone who comes up to one certainly has, negatively or positively, some interest in what we have. Because they can see that you are some kind of monk, something or another. So everyone, every single person it was really amazing. I was getting more and more enlivened as the journey went on. In between, simply chanting the holy names, people were picking me up, and then we're just talking about what am I, what is this, what is that, chanting the holy names, and so on. It was a very enlivening experience back in 1980, and it was so wonderful. And then the last stop was in the middle of nowhere, 11 o'clock at night. They dropped me off in the middle of nowhere, somebody. And I didn't know what to do. Dark. A little tiny lane in the middle of the countryside. What to do other than just chant. See what Krishna's got in store. Take shelter of the holy name. Krishna will provide. And if not, we just stay here and chant. The beauty of Krishna consciousness, isn't it? Even in the lockdown, the devotee is not bored. It reminds us that we have unending opportunities to preach also and to chant the holy name of Krishna. Take shelter of Krishna in difficult times. Queen Kunti would pray, may these difficulties happen again and again and again. Why? People don't usually pray for that unless they're making money out of it. Some people do. Why is she praying? She's praying because this difficult situations are favorable and me taking complete shelter of you. my attraction for you to be just like the river Ganges, flowing unimpeded towards the ocean. So in difficulty, what else choice do we have but to take shelter of the holy name? Take shelter of Krishna. So, well, what to do? Here we are stuck in the middle of nowhere. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a car comes swirling around the corner. It's a Volvo. Around the corner comes the car. Screeches to a halt about 50 meters on. I thought, my goodness. I was thinking it was a devotee because the devotees, many of the devotees in those days had Volvo cars. But this is incredible. This time of night, a devotee coming by in this little lane. I was excited. I went to the car and it wasn't. It was a lady, a well-to-do lady. She was pretty fancy dressed, quite rich, I guess. And she said, where am I going? And I said, I was going to Groom Court, Chaitanya College. I said, oh, I live next door to there. Jump in. I said, you're the first person in my life I've ever picked up in a car. 11 o'clock at night on a lonely lane? What is this? This is weird. I said, why? Because I can trust you. I said, why? Because you're dressed like this. I know who you are. She trusted. The Sankirtan movement is the only thing we can really trust, ultimately. Everything else is just a means of fulfilling our own agendas. Sankirtan is the mission to please Radharani, to bring Krishna, to bring Krishna's parts and parcels back to Godhead. Krishna forwards in Vrindavan. But that's the principle. That's the principle. So I'm going to read a few things more, and this is one of my favorite sections from the 9th chapter of the Adi Lila. And I remember after that little experience, I wrote an article where this is the center theme of that article. And it was quite the reaction to that was very, very enlightening, very wonderful from the devotees. I'll just read this piece which Prabhupada writes here. Since the tree of devotional service is transcendental, every one of its parts can perform the action of all the others. Although a tree is supposed to be immovable, this tree nevertheless moves. This is the tree of devotional service, the tree of our parampara, the disciplic succession, the tree of bhakti. All the parts of this tree are spiritually cognizant, and thus, as they grow up, they spread all over the world. I am the only gardener. How many places can I go? How many fruits can I pick and distribute? It would certainly be a very laborious task. Oh, thank you. How did you get that? You're very expert. It would certainly be a very laborious task to pick the fruits and distribute them alone. And still, I suspect that some would receive and others would not. This is a kind of a very wonderful kind of example Lord Chaitanya is giving. It's like if you're trying to pick cherries or something on a massive tree of cherries, how many can we pick alone? We need help. We need combined forces. Srila Prabhupada tried to get combined forces to come out and preach. Come, dear brothers, let us go out and preach the message boldly as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj taught us and inspired us to do. Let's get out of our pens and get out of there. Let's go out and preach. This was his mission. But not many were very enthusiastic by his spirit. So Prabhupada took it upon himself and came to the West and recruited. By the mercy of Nityananda, so many people came forward and became limbs for Srila Prabhupada to spread this message all over the world, wherever you are. Some of you are in New Zealand, some are in Malaysia, some in India, some in Europe and America and England and India and Fiji and Singapore and here and there, wherever you are, Russia. Prabhupada, by the inspiration, because he ignited that fire in the hearts of living entities, who then ignited it in others. And it's amazing. And we have an incredible, I don't know what I can't give an analogy, but an incredible weapon, in a sense, in the form of Srila Prabhupada's books. Not only do we have the congregational chanting, we have Prabhupada's books, absorb ourselves in reading Prabhupada's books, absorb ourselves in sharing those books with others. This is Prabhupada's unlimited gifts to the world. Prabhupada's still here. His mission, his books, his teachings, the fire of his devotion to Krishna Vena Bhakti Yogena, such a blazing fire of devotional spirit and desire to fulfill his spiritual master's wishes. This is the secret of success in spiritual life, to make the instruction of one's spiritual master one's life and soul. It was Prabhupada's strength. He took strength in that instruction of his spiritual master, the representative of Lord Nityananda. Therefore, he says, I order every man within this universe to accept this Krishna conscious movement and distribute it everywhere. I am the only gardener. If I do not distribute these fruits, what shall I do with them? When Lord Chaitanya was in Varanasi, Benares, and as the seat of the Mayavadis, the impersonalists, he went there. He had some disciples or followers, so to speak, Chandrasekhar Acharya, Tapana Mishra. They were residing there. Lord Chaitanya went there. And he saw that most of the people in Varanasi were not interested in bhakti. They were interested in Vedanta, they were interested in monism, but not in bhakti. So what am I going to do here? Normally there's a price for these fruits, and I have to distribute these fruits here at discount. You see, we have to give a discount here on this. It's like sometimes when you have to sell a product, you have to give a discount, otherwise no, just like now that with the coronavirus, a lot of lockdowns, a lot of things, some maybe not all, but a lot of things have gone down in price because people can't sell it. You know, accommodation and things, because they try to rent out your rooms, they're very hard. Discounted price. People are afraid, not interested. So Lord Chaitanya gave special mercy in Varanasi, special mercy to the residents of Varanasi. And of course, eventually their hearts were changed, transformed by that special mercy, that humility, that tolerance, that karunika. Daya was there, primarily Daya, very humble, merciful mood of the Lord, very Trinada peace in it, very humble, more humble than the straw on the street. Lord Chaitanya manifested intense humility, genuine humility, not artificial, genuine. And in our case, that genuine humility, well, I can't speak of my case, but in the case of a genuine devotee, is their complete shelter. They're taking complete shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, complete shelter of their spiritual master, seeing themselves as a mere instrument in spreading Krishna consciousness to others. Lord Chaitanya is ordering all of us, take this up as he ordered Nityananda, go to Bengal, spread Krishna consciousness to everyone there. And similarly, Lord Chaitanya is giving all of us this chance, because he doesn't want to, the devotee doesn't want to keep things for themselves. They're not greedy. Devotee is magnanimous. He wants to give this mercy, this special mercy to all living entities, everyone. Somewhere in the Prabhupada one time was sitting, he'd say, you see this ant? And he's pointing out to a devotee on the table. There is no ant. At least it didn't look like it. Devotee's looking, where's the ant? You see this ant? I was saying, our business is we have to help this ant. You have to give prasadam to this ant. Deliver this ant. This is the mood of a devotee. He wants all living entities to have this opportunity. He's an ocean of mercy. Vanchakalpatrubhyascha, kripa sindhu vyekacha, patitanam pavanebhyo, vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. We offer our humble obeisance and respects to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees and can fulfill the desires of everyone, and who are full of compassion for all the conditioned souls. This is devote all the time. Their preaching is actually doing this. They're offering their respect to the Vaishnavas, to those who are oceans of compassion to all living entities. How many fruits can I eat? By the transcendental desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, water has been sprinkled all over the tree, and thus there are innumerable fruits of love of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya's mercy has sprinkled water everywhere. Everywhere the devotees go, the holy name, everywhere we just have to distribute this. Distribute the fruits. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in this world for two reasons. To taste the prema which Srimati Radhika experiences, her love for Krishna, along with the performance of congregational chanting. Thus, accompanied by his devotees, his confidential devotees, he spread the Sankirtan movement even to the untouchables. Everybody. He didn't consider who was fit, who was unfit, who was desiring, who was not desiring. He simply spread the Sankirtan. This is real mercy, not conditional mercy. You give me, I give you, or you surrender to me, or only my group, or only my race. Every living entity. When he was conversing with Haridas Thakur, Lord Chaitanya was displaying a mood of anxiety. Haridas said, my Lord, why are you feeling anxiety? Lord Chaitanya said, what about? Okay, the Sankirtan movement is delivering the living entities in human bodies, but what about those in non-moving, Stavara, the non-moving living entities? What about them? Haridas Thakur said, my Lord, do not be in anxiety. By the loud chanting of the holy name, even the non-moving living entities are delivered. And when you hear the echo of the loud chanting, that is the non-moving living entities chanting back. They will also be delivered. He was so merciful. Lord Chaitanya's followers are thinking of the welfare of all. And the loud chanting of the holy name is the most merciful activity, along with transcendental book distribution, to awaken or ignite the spark of bhakti within the hearts of other living entities. That is preaching. Distribute this Krishna conscious movement all over the world. Let people eat these fruits and ultimately become free from old age and death. By the mercy of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada writes here in the Bhagavatam, dear Lord, your personal associates, devotees, wander all over the world to purify even the holy places of pilgrimage. Is not such activity pleasing to those who are actually afraid of material existence? And Srila Prabhupada, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prahlad Maharaj, he also prayed like that. More or less, I'm not worried about myself. I'm only concerned for the fools and rascals who are suffering this material. Sometimes we see that saintly people, they go into the Himalayas alone and they keep away from the majority of people. We say, my desire is to see, that all the living entities get this opportunity because it's their nature. By nature, every living entity is a servant of Krishna. A sadhu, Prabhupada says, a sadhu is meant to preach. A sadhu like Vidura is meant to awaken such blind persons like Dhritarashtra or like us, and thus help them to go back to Godhead, where life is eternal. Once going there, no one wants to come back to this material world of misery. We can just imagine how responsible a task is entrusted to a sadhu like Mahatma Vidura's great responsibility. Human life is a life of responsibility, and this is the highest responsibility. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stated that he wants every village in the world to be a center of Krishna consciousness so that people can take advantage of sadhus and in turn become sadhus. This is the mission of the Krishna conscious movement. At the same time, we have to take compassion upon fallen souls by going from town to town to enlighten others in Krishna consciousness. This is the sadhu's duty. Krishna Katha is the only remedy for all people of the world because it can situate one in pure consciousness of the self and liberate one from material bondage. To preach Krishna Katha all over the world, as recommended by Lord Chaitanya, is the greatest missionary activity. not just freeing people from sinful reactions. It's not just liberating people from their karma, but it's awakening. The highest mercy, the highest welfare work is to awaken their love of Godhead, to awaken that praying within the heart. The word. One can very intelligently conclude that without devotional service, without becoming Krishna conscious, one cannot be happy. Therefore, the duty of all devotees is to preach Krishna consciousness everywhere, all over the world. Because all living entities without Krishna consciousness are suffering the pangs of material existence. To preach Krishna consciousness is the highest welfare activity. This is incredible how many times Prabhupada repeats this through his letters, books, lectures, and so on. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is para upakara, work for the true benefit of others. This is real selflessness. When we work for the benefit, ultimately for the pleasure of Krishna, but for the benefit. When we water the root of a tree, automatically all the leaves and branches, everything is nourished. Feeding the stomach, as long as you feed it the right thing, the stomach will distribute the nourishment throughout the whole body. It is said that great personalities almost always accept voluntary suffering because of the suffering of people in general. This is considered the highest method of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is present in everyone's heart. That doesn't mean something artificial. It means they take on that anxiety. And sometimes even parents, they have to take on so much anxiety, so much suffering for their children. So a pure devotee on behalf, he's a representative of Krishna. So for the welfare of others, he's willing to take on that suffering, being criticized, being tortured, being killed in the case of, say, Lord Jesus Christ, tortured as Haridas Thakur, and many others in the course of our history have taken on that suffering for the well, with the intention of benefiting others. And in the form of Sankirtan, or preaching Krishna consciousness, yes, there's austerities there. Sometimes it's not appreciated. Sometimes devotees have to undergo internal challenges, also external ones. So this is a sacrifice for the benefit of others. Here is an explanation of how those engaged in activities for the welfare of others are very quickly recognized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We've already read that one of the preachers mentioned. There are different kinds of welfare activity in the material world, but the supreme welfare activity is spreading Krishna consciousness. Other welfare activities cannot be effective, for the laws of nature and the results of karma cannot be checked. They go on. You can try to change things from one to the next, but all that happens is we move it from one shoulder to the other shoulder, basically. Our karma is there, and even if we try to relieve someone of their suffering, karma comes. It may be in a different way, but it still comes. One has to become freed of karma. And more than that, we have to become attached to Krishna. Otherwise, again, we'll engage in activities which will cause more karma. Other welfare activities cannot be effective. The laws of nature and the results of karma cannot be checked. If one tries to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, he should be understood to be performing the best welfare activity. The best welfare activity is raising people to the platform of Krishna consciousness, since the conditioned souls are suffering only for want of Krishna consciousness. All the Shastras conclude, therefore, that spreading the Krishna consciousness movement is the best welfare activity in the world. If we wish to show real mercy, we will preach Krishna consciousness in order to revive the lost consciousness of human beings, the living entity's original consciousness. We got back here. This is New Mayapur. We'll all have to get used to this maybe eventually, I don't know. But we better practice taking shelter of the holy name, taking shelter of the instructions of Srila Prabhupada and the Bhagavatam, that we don't know how long technology is going to be at our disposal, so to speak, or we at the disposal of technology, whichever way you look at it. We got to take shelter of the eternal thing, the real essence of this movement, the holy name. So I guess we just more or less, okay, maybe someone's got some questions, because I kind of lost my thread there on the book. And maybe you'd like to ask some questions. How are we going to spread Krishna consciousness? How can we become a Sankankari, a messenger of the Sankirtan movement? How can we become a servant of the holy name? Whatever. Some questions.
Oh, I have a question.
Can you keep that one down? Let the online ones. We'll keep it with you. Let's see if there's any online ones. Hare Krishna. There's something here, but can you access it? I don't see it. It's there, but I can't read it.
Oh.
What happened there? What's happening? Put this on full screen so I can read it. But there's some questions there. Here they are. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare, Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama, Rama, Hare, Hare. Let's go. Sankirtan. What's that say? Please accept.
ISKCON Gata
Gokul Rani Dasi Kichai. Now I'm going to tell you, some of you don't know Gokul Rani. Gokul Rani is way in her 70s. She's a yoga teacher. And she lives with her husband, a wonderful man in the south of France who's very sick. And he speaks a little English. She's an amazing personality. She goes out on her own on Sankirtan, distributing books. She puts a book table on the side of the road. She chants. She gets her yoga students to chant. She distributes books even to big dignitaries. She knows a lot of people. She has such a spirit of preaching. I'm not going to say much more, but here's an example. A devotee, she's way in her 70s, and she's preaching Krishna consciousness. There are many like this all over the world. It is so inspiring. Thank you so much. ISKCON Gateshead, Ki Jai. Another one. I guess, how to find a sadhu. How to find a sadhu. Srila Prabhupada is here with you now. If you look into take the good fortune of reading his books. He's, of course, we may say physically how to associate with the sadhu. But Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj also, we know one thing. We should know what the qualifications of a sadhu are. But the problem is, what is our qualification? There's one thing to say what is the qualification of a sadhu, but we have to be qualified. People can't recognize sadhus because they're not qualified. We also have to look at our hearts. So what we have right now, by the mercy of Lord Nityananda, in this mission, this ISKCON movement which Prabhupada has created, is a, what was the word? I can't remember. I read it this afternoon. I'll use another word. It's a preparatory situation. That wasn't the word Prabhupada used, but a preparatory situation to prepare us so we become, you could say, eligible to actually recognize the sadhu. Otherwise, we can be told. That's a good thing if you know so. Then you course you have to have faith, but you can be told this is a sadhu and so on and so forth. Most people think a sadhu is one who has a long beard and he's from India probably, and he has orange robes and he smiles and maybe he's a little austere, maybe not. Maybe he smokes some chillums or something. Who knows? Whatever it is, people have different idea what is a sadhu. But we hear from scripture what is a sadhu. And we also hear from scriptures that we have to prepare ourselves. Chant the holy names. The sadhus have given us the Shastra. Guru Shastra Sadhu. By the great, those who are following the Shastra, those who are following the Guru, at least they're in the mood of the sadhu. They're carrying the mood of the sadhu. We take association there and we try to churn the essence. Churn it like you churn butter to make ghee. We have to churn it. We have to come together with the principle of the sadhu in the center. Principle of the sadhu is, we'll hear about that in a few days' time. But basically, it's to hear, chant, remember, worship the personality of Godhead together, in following in the footsteps of the sadhu and following, in that case, Srila Prabhupada's direction, how to do that. And that will make us eligible to genuinely recognize who is a sadhu. Otherwise, it can be dependent upon our conditional mentality. We accept the sadhu as someone who agrees with us, somebody who feeds us, somebody who satisfies our conditional desires, etc. Sometimes it may be like that. Sadhu is one who cuts those out, who releases, maybe not immediately, but releases us from these knots which we're in. It doesn't keep us in illusion. It doesn't pamper us. Oh, you're very nice. I give you blessings that you can improve your material life. This is not a sadhu. Sadhu is one who releases us from that illusion. bit harsh, we could say, or maybe we're not ready for that. But therefore, we have to prepare ourselves. Otherwise, the sadhu is there, but we're not really associating with the sadhu. Gradually, by associating with the representatives, with the process which the sadhu gives, we hope that we'll become purified. But we've got to get into the fire of Sankirtan, of together helping each other to hear the holy name, to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And in this way, revealing our hearts, let go of all these conditional mentalities and all these fears and everything else in our heart in a humble way, not in a way that we want to, usurp others or disturb others or harm others. In a way, just let go of all these false conceptions in our heart. And then we'll be able to, more and more, as our heart becomes cleansed, recognize the sadhu is there, but we have to recognize the sadhu. Not just a principle, the sadhu will manifest to guide us on the path of pure bhakti. He's already here, we just got our eyes. The sadhu bhakti, Siddhanta said, sadhu is one who opens our eyes, who gives us the eyes to see. But when we're blind, what can we do? We hear. So we hear from the sadhu. We hear the words of Srila Prabhupada. We hear those who are speaking those words, following those words, and that will gradually purify our consciousness. And we will be able to recognize somebody who is non-duplicitous, simple, straight. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, we got any more questions or we lost it?
Yeah, I'm asking him to copy it.
Okay, we're just waiting now. Waiting for connections. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. There we go. Haribol. If a person is by nature introverted and is not really the kind who can mingle easily with people, how can they preach and spread the holy name to others? Well, we have our internet preaching nowadays. It's becoming quite big. And you can preach also by cultivating pure devotional service in your home. That will also benefit everybody around you. You can send letters. You can give gifts of books to others. You can give prasadam to others. You can assist those who are going out to preach Krishna consciousness. Maybe you don't have the boldness to go out on the street. Hey, take a book. Chant Hare Krishna. Give up your nonsense. Surrender to Krishna. Maybe not quite as straightforward as that. But he may not be able to quite do that. He may be a little shy at this point of time. Maybe. But we can assist those who are doing it. In whatever way works, whatever way we can. And we can still preach directly, in the sense, by because a few. You can think of many more as well. It was just a few ways that, without having to interact with people or go outside very much, you can still distribute Krishna consciousness in so many by behavior, just by a devotee's behavior that spreads Krishna consciousness, by your qualities, by your kindness, by your tolerance, etc., etc. And every time you get the opportunity, everyone who comes to your house, give them prasadam. Even if the postman, policeman, anyone, give them prasadam. Give them the mercy. Yeah, somehow or another, we can find a way to spread Krishna consciousness. I remember one time we were told, I think it may have been in England, I can't remember where it was. When I joined, we were told there was one devotee there who said, Srila Prabhupada, I don't like going on Sankirtan. Oh, no problem. And I don't understand what is this philosophy. I'm not into it. And the deities, I've got no attraction. And the devotees, I can't associate with them. I said, well, why are you here? I like the prasadam. I like prasadam. So, oh, very, very good. So you take prasadam, you go out on Sankirtan, you just tell everyone, this food is so wonderful, please take some. This way you can perform Sankirtan. Just send prasadam to people. Do something. Everyone can take part in this Sankirtan movement. Even an ant can take part. When Lord Ramchandra was building the bridge to Lanka, a little squirrel, or some say something else, but a squirrel was helping to build the bridge to Lanka. Everyone can help. Hanuman was thinking I'm doing big and he's doing small, but it's not like that. Every Krishna can see our capacity, every little tiny bit. Krishna takes it seriously. Thank you very, very much. Hare Krishna.
There's another question. Hare Krishna.
How to improve the quality of our bhakti when we are in the material, natural environment? Oh, hey, boy, Yash. Yash has been our facilitator for a long time here at New Mayapur, and now he's back to work again. We have Joel and Rasikananda Prabhu's taken over on the actual technical side. And how to improve the quality of bhakti when we're in material, natural environment. How to increase the quality of our bhakti. Okay. What does quality mean? Quality, one time Prabhupada said, meant love. And he said, in the meantime, you try to chant your rounds, follow the principles as best you can, and try to hear the sound of the holy name and pray. Pray and endeavor, Prabhupada said. Pray for mercy, especially when we're alone in some, far distant corner of somewhere like France or wherever it may be, with no direct association. Keep in touch with devotees as much as we can. Try to have a good morning program if you can. The morning time is the most potent time for hearing and chanting. It may not always be possible. Like every situation has to be looked at. But as much as possible, the morning time is the most potent time for feeding, or let's say, for taking the fruits of Krishna consciousness, fruits of bhakti, for chanting, hearing, remembering Krishna in the morning. Try to read Prabhupada's books regularly, and that will remind us of what we should do. Krishna will speak. When you read Prabhupada's books, Krishna is speaking through Srila Prabhupada to us, through his books. And you'll always see there's something there which we're meant to. It's like when Prabhupada was giving lectures, every devotee felt that Prabhupada was personally speaking directly to them, entering their hearts. This is the nature of the pure. As Krishna is in the heart, in the Bhagavatam it said that Narada Muni, he said, you're just like the super soul in the heart of everyone. Because the pure devotee can enter into the heart of everyone through his transcendental mercy, merciful instruction. Take that instruction, and that instruction will give us guidance how to make the next step. We have to associate with the pure devotee of the Lord through sound vibration. Then try to imbibe that instruction and apply it in our lives and chant the holy names with enthusiasm as much as we can, and keep in touch with the devotees and pray and endeavor. By the mercy of Lord Nityananda that our chanting, our hearing, our devotion can become purer. We have to have the desire. The desire is there, we have to act on the desire, and then by the mercy of Nityananda, he will shower that mercy upon him. Next one. How we can convince local authorities in midst of social distancing rules due to coronavirus that Harinam is best well-wishing activity. I'm not sure which type of authorities we're referring to here. You may be referring to ISKCON authorities, we may be referring to local authorities or governmental authorities, I don't know, whatever it is.
Local authorities.
What that means, I don't know, local anyway. That can mean a few things also. Well, whatever it is, it may not be that we have to convince them. We have to just perform Sankirtan wherever. You may be locked up in a cage. What are you going to do then? How are you going to convince the prison warder, let me out of here, I've got to perform Sankirtan on the streets? I mean, maybe you can bribe him, but that's not the real process. You do say, I remember in London, 1972, we were getting arrested literally every day of the week, maybe 73, something like that. Pretty much every day of the week by the police. They would take us into the cell, Marylebone police station, and we get arrested. And those who couldn't run away fast enough, we would get caught and we were put in the jail. It said the constable in charge of the police station, the sergeant in charge of it, he would say, come on, boys, chant, sing. He would tell us like this, the sergeant, police sergeant, sing. Come on, I want to hear you sing, he would go. And we would just sing in the police station. We chant. Wherever you go, just chant. If you're in the home, if you're in the garden. Krishna Kripa, I may not know Krishna Kripa, he's very famous in many parts of Europe and America. Amazing devotee. He's also must be coming up to 60 years old. He does every day of the week, 3 hours Harinam. And what's he doing during the coronavirus? He sits on his porch of the little temple he's staying in somewhere in Florida, and he chants for 3 hours on the porch, and he records it online, and he gets many people listening online. He just sits there, maybe 1 or 2 other devotees sit there with him on the porch, and they chant, and it goes online. We can't imitate him, but just give an example. Nothing can stop the performance of Sankirtan, wherever we are. Sankirtan is not actually, when we really get down to it, is not a physical, defined activity. It is a complete absorption of the very being, living entity himself in nothing but bringing pleasure to Srimati Radharani and relieving her of her distress. This is the Sankirtan movement. And that happens anywhere. Even if we're in our bed, we can be performing Sankirtan, glorifying Krishna with our very life itself. Total surrender. So we're just following the footsteps of those Sankirtanians, trying to do our best. And Krishna is making these arrangements to increase the purity of our service. As you just asked this question, how do we improve the quality? Well, this is an opportunity now. Krishna's placing us in this situation, giving us this opportunity at least to improve the quality, to become a little bit more internal rather than just performers of activity, a little bit more conscious of what we're doing. What's the next one? That's it. Hare Krishna, everyone. Oh, maybe there's something under that. It doesn't seem like a full message. Maybe it is. Wow, that's wonderful. I'm sorry we're a bit interrupted tonight. I got a bit thrown off the book there. I could have read another 50 similar quotes from Srila Prabhupada, but I hope you got the message that Srila Prabhupada's the Sadhu. What is the message of the Sadhu? What is their message? What is their mood? What is their life and soul? And how much we need that mercy coming from those sadhus. And you do that, get that mercy by following, putting into practice. Try to spread the message of the sadhu. Try to perform Sankirtan wherever we are, anywhere we are, wherever we are, within reason, using common sense. That we don't, some people, we don't want to do it in a way that causes distress. I mean, Krishna Kripa was also telling me one time when he was in Paris, he was doing Harinam on his own in one Indian area of Paris, and it was next to a hospital. And this hospital was like a hospital, it's a long time back, nothing to do with coronavirus, but it was a hospital where people were, many people were leaving their bodies. It was like old people, sick, very, very sick people. And some of the security came in and said, will you please offline? So Krishna Kripa was chanting outside this hospital, and one of the security came in and said, will you please go away? You're making it difficult for the people to die. They're getting excited hearing you were chanting down there. He has to leave. This is the real life Sankirtan. So if you want the mercy of the sadhu, you want good quality in your devotion, we have to follow their instructions the best we can, that's all. And then by the mercy of Nityananda, quality is there already. It's just covered over by various contaminations. Yeah, it's like water is pure. When there's a mixture in the water, it's not pure. So you have to remove the mixture, not the water. Simple. Cleanse your heart. And how do we cleanse our heart? Eto darpanamatanam bhavamahadavagi nirvarpanam Shreya kaira chandikavataranam Ijavadajivanam Anandam Vairivadhanam Pativadam Puramitapadanam Sarvatmasnapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Gauranga Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Gauranga Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Holy Name, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Gauranga Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Bolo, bolo, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Harinama Sankirtan Ki. Hari Bo.